Anybody find any cookies back there? I got a few. I'm hoping I get to take some home too. I want to point out a couple people. My aunt Elaine is back there, one of the back tables, and my Uncle Max. They're here tonight. I appreciate them being here. I'll let you guess which one made the cookies. Max is a good cookie eater, but he's not a very good cookie baker. Then my Uncle Gary Fail and his wife Connie are over here. Appreciate them being here. Gary's going to snap some pictures tonight so that we can have proof that you all were here, I guess. But we appreciate them being here. Got a lot of friends here tonight, and I appreciate you being here. And I'm not going to take time to mention everybody individually. Got people that have donated to our organization this past year, and I appreciate you guys very much. And I appreciate you guys that have made the effort to get out here. I know some of you have had a similar experience to me in your life where you've suffered a traumatic spinal cord injury. And I know it's not always easy for you to get from point A to point B, but I appreciate you guys making the effort to be here and supporting this. So thank you, because you guys are the reason why we do what we do. Anyway, I've got several things I want to go over tonight. I want to share with you a little bit about our organization, kind of where we've been and where we're going. And then I hope that we'll have a little bit of time at the end where you guys can ask some questions, give me some feedback, and have a little bit more fellowship time at the end. But I'll get started, I guess, by just saying that somebody told me one time that following God was a lot like driving your car at night. You turn on the headlights and the light shines a little ways and you go that far. You drive your car a few feet, the light shines a little farther, and you just keep going. And wherever the light shines, you have your path lit up, and you know that's where you can go, where you're supposed to go. And for me, when we began this organization, I had it in my heart for several years to do this because I know the struggle that people with spinal cord injuries go through every day just to live life, you know. And it's a struggle in a lot of different ways. But I wanted to reach out to those people and provide some hope and provide some encouragement and provide some help in a lot of different ways. And so I feel like we've been able to do that. But it took a long time to convince me that I was supposed to take this step and go out and do it. I knew I wanted to, but I kept coming up with reasons why I shouldn't. And I tell you what, I'm glad that we finally took the leap of faith to go out and do it and start following in this journey. And I still don't know exactly where all we're headed, but I know that we're headed in the right direction. And a lot of good things have happened over the past year. And so I'm going to share with you some pictures in a little bit and tell you about some of the people that we've helped and some of the things that we've done. Before we do that, though, we do have one special request from a very special lady who is not able to be here tonight, Margaret Bedeau. And those of you guys that know Margaret, you know that she and I have had our paths intertwined for a lot of years, and she's been very inspirational in helping us get this started. And so my wife's going to read to you a text that she sent that she wanted to have read tonight because she could not be here.
So most of you know Margaret, and if she had the opportunity, she was going to talk. And I told her and I told Kevin that we both decided that if Margaret were here, it would be a lot longer version than the short text that we got. And this one, instead of, like she tells Betsy and I, we kind of go off on trails. This is pretty straight and to the point. She says, God laid the idea of starting a nonprofit foundation on your heart for several years, and you and Jana were obedient to his calling. I am very proud of you and your faithfulness to follow the path God has led you on. What an incredible difference it is making in people's lives on this earth, and what an impact your testimony is making for eternity. I am extremely grateful to God for bringing us together 30 years ago. You have changed my life in profound ways. You have been a mentor and a spiritual role model to me and an example to the world of a man after God's own heart. So many other people can say the same thing about you, Kevin.
She might brag on me a little bit more than I really need to be bragged on, but I definitely appreciate Margaret, and we are video recording this tonight because she wanted to be able to see and hear what was going on tonight. So anyway, thank you, Margaret. So the Live With It Foundation exists to serve those who live with spinal cord injury, and part of our vision is that we would like to get input from time to time from people who go through spinal cord injuries on what your needs are and what kind of things you're going through, and maybe what some of your struggles are in your life. Because although I know what mine are, I may not know what Matt's are. And for those of you guys that maybe don't know who some of the people here are in this room with spinal cord injuries, I'm just going to real quickly take the time to introduce them because that's what this organization is all about. So up here at the front table, Matt Bolig, the former Chinook guy, Chad Graham. He is now a Chinook guy, formerly from Colorado, and we're glad to have him here in town. Michael Burt lives here in Chinook. We're happy to have Michael here. Kurt Umbarger back there. Kurt, you're not going to wave at me? I'll wave at you if you wave at me. How's that work? Yeah. Kurt's a Chinook guy. And then back in the back, we got a Fort Scott Tiger here tonight. I mean, yeah. Pashan Steps. So we appreciate you guys all making the effort to be here. I think we're all Craig Hospital alumni, right? Did you go to Craig Hospital, Michael? No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thought you had, but anyway. So this is why we exist, is to serve people like what you see here tonight. And over the course of this last year, you'd be surprised how many people I've been able to talk to that deal with spinal cord injury every day, and not only them, but also their families and their caregivers, because it affects the whole family when it happens to you. So the Live With It Foundation, I want to go. We started out. Our first person we were able to help. And James, whenever you're ready, go ahead and click to the next one. It was Josie Martis. We helped Josie get a stand-up chair. We actually just helped her get a part for her stand-up chair. The actual stand-up chair is, gosh, I don't know, like what you see Michael in here tonight. They're very expensive chairs. In her case, insurance paid for most all of hers, but it wouldn't pay for a bracket to go on the bottom of her chair that she actually uses to lock into her vehicle. Josie is able to drive herself to work. And so we were able to help her get that bracket she needed to drive into her vehicle, lock in securely and independently, so that then she could drive herself to and from work and the places she needed to go. Josie's originally from Yates Center, had an automobile accident in 1998. So she's been paralyzed for quite a while. We'll go on to the next one there, James. So our year started out by helping Josie. And then one of my visions, I guess, when we started this was that I wanted to be able to help people not only that needed equipment and stuff that might have been paralyzed for a long time, but also those people who are newly injured. Those of you guys that are here, you remember those days. Devastation, depression, all kinds of things that you battled when you first had your accident, that you just were really uncertain of what life was going to look like, and probably even uncertain of whether you really even wanted to live life if the doctor's prognosis of you never walking again was correct. That's how I felt. My family, they didn't know what to do. They felt helpless, felt hopeless. Expenses piled up, trips back and forth to the hospital, hotel rooms, food, lost wages from work. All these kinds of things just piled up on our family, and we were fortunate and blessed to live here in Chanute where we were surrounded by people who wanted to help. And they went out of their way and went the extra mile to help, and they gave generously. And so I remembered what that was like. And I wanted to be able to help people in that situation. And it wasn't but about, I don't know, not very long after we got our IRS approval letter to operate as a 501c3 that we got a call from somebody in Oswego where we live that said, hey, there's a lady in Frontenac. It fell through the attic of her garage and she is paralyzed. And so we were able to send their family $1,000, no questions asked, just here, use this however you need it, and reach out to them, to her and her husband, and try to encourage them and support them in whatever way that we could. And then after a month or two, she was able to come back home, and we were able to give them another donation to help with modifications to their home. The picture you see up there is of Dustin and Jen Johnson in Frontenac. And so they're home trying to navigate life, trying to figure out how to live with the spinal cord injury. But we were happy to be able to help them out at that point in time. And we continue to kind of reach out to them and talk to them and see what kind of needs that they might have. Jamie? So after those two, Josie and Jen, it seemed like there was a little while where nobody really called and nobody emailed and nobody told me about anybody needing anything. And I'm thinking, man, are we really doing the right thing? Why did we, get these checks from people? And we had some very generous people at the beginning, like Margaret Badeau and some of the churches here in town, Presbyterian Church, the Baptist Church, the Methodist Church. I went and spoke at several of those, Nazarene Church as well, and there I am speaking at one of them. But I just kind of let people know who we were and what we were out there doing and what people we were looking to help. And like I said, it was a little while before anybody contacted us again. And so I kept kind of going out doing what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. Went to some schools and talked to a bunch of kids about making good choices and trying to raise some awareness about spinal cord injury. And built a website, got a Facebook page for our Live With It Foundation. You can check it out at livewithit.org sometime. We've got all our mission statements, and we even kind of keep track on our blog there a little bit about what we do and put some pictures on there of people that we've helped and a little bit about their personal stories and journeys. So I encourage you to check that out sometime. Share this with people when you can. Okay. We had a young man in Oswego who's actually our nephew, Jana's brother, lives in Oswego, and his son goes to college at Labette. And he said, I'm doing this class for marketing, communication major he is, and we got to do a fundraiser for an organization, but I don't have an organization, and I know you guys just got started. And so I want to pick your organization to do a fundraiser for. Well, I really wasn't sure that I was ready to go out and do a lot of fundraising. I mean, people had given some initial seed money, but we had only helped two people. And so when people ask, what all you guys do, I really didn't have a whole lot to say other than just, what we thought we wanted to do. And we have helped these two people, but he went ahead and did the fundraiser and kind of, I guess, pushed me out of the boat there a little bit. And so we were going, and he did a fun run for us and helped raise quite a bit of money for us. So we raised a little bit more funds. The summer hit, and we went another month or two without really helping anybody again. And I'm thinking, gee, are we really doing the right thing? And then it kind of hit. I got a message from a guy named Mark Cameron. Mark is a guy who actually visited me at KU Med Center back in 1991. After my accident happened, he came to the hospital walking. He was just fine at that time. He was with a a girl that I went to high school with, didn't know me from Adam, but he came with her to the hospital because she wanted to come say hi. And so we ran into each other about 10 years later, and he's in a sip and puff wheelchair. And he was like, "Hey, I think I know you. I think I visited you in the hospital." I'm like, "Yeah, I think you did." So we connected and we helped him um, this summer with some caregiving expenses that he needed. Um, and we actually just visited him in Kansas City last weekend while we were up there. There's a guy you might recognize. I tried to show off your muscles here a little bit, Michael. That got a picture of you on Facebook. We were able to help Michael with his stand-up wheelchair that you see here today, and we were just happy to be able to help you. We know you've been down for a while, battling a pressure sore, and so we're excited to see you up, and we hope that you can get back out there and get doing things you love to be doing. Okay. Chad Graham is here, his wife and Lene, they're here today, and we were able to help Chad get aluminum ramp for their house. Chad, I'm going to let Chad come up here in a few minutes and tell you a few things about his life, and um, I'm going to wait a little bit, Chad, before I do that. Got a couple things I want to get through here, but I've asked him to come share a few things here in a minute because he's just a special guy to me. But let's go on to the next one. Well, most of you guys know this guy, Mike Sutcliffe. Mike was kind of like my, I don't know what you would call it. He announced all my high school games, and when the commercial back in the days about Michael Jordan was on, and they always said, I want to be like Mike. I always thought, well, it'd be cool to be like Michael Jordan, and who didn't want to be like Michael Jordan? Maybe Trent over here, because he was a wrestler. He didn't care about basketball, but I thought being like Michael Jordan would be pretty cool. Um, After I got paralyzed, Mike Sutcliffe was one of the first guys to come see me in the hospital, and he became kind of an encouragement and a big inspiration to me. And as I saw him get married and have a job and get out there and keep doing his radio work, I was like, you know what, I want to be like that. Despite my disability, I want to get out there and live life. And so um, Mike is going through a difficult time right now. You might keep him and his family in your prayers. I talked to him before we came to this meeting, and he said, "I'm in an ambulance. I'm on the way to Wesley." So he's battling a lot of infections and things. So keep Mike in your prayers. But we were able to help him and Sherry the other day. There's a testimonial on the sheet there, the first one um, on your tables. If you have a chance, read those sometime. If you want a copy for yourself, I've got more. You can just let me know. I can email you, print some out, send some to you in the mail, whatever. But Sherry is a pretty special lady. And those of you guys that have wives and families and caregivers, it takes a lot. And she's gone the extra mile for Mike. So we appreciate Mike, but also appreciate all that Sherry's done as well. This is a family that my wife and I met this summer at a grandkids baseball game. The guy in the back, his name is Philip, and he has a wife that has MS, and that's them and their kids. They live in Hillsboro, Kansas. We met them in Columbus, and my wife and I were like, I don't know, we're as far away from the baseball field as we could get because it was in between a bunch of little kids' games. And I was sitting over there underneath the shade tree, all the way kicked back. And he saw my feet and my feet rest from afar. And he walked all the way over there to where we were and started talking to us because he recognized the fact that I was in a chair. He knew his wife was. And so he came over to see who we were. Long story short, the next weekend, or maybe 2 weekends after that, our grandson had a game in Hillsborough, Kansas, and that's where Philip lives. So we got to go out there and meet him and his family. And although our organization is not, uh, our purpose is not specifically, to help everybody that goes through, some kind of a disability. We do reach out to them. We talk to them. We encourage them, and we've partnered with some other people who were able to help this family get some of the things that they needed for equipment within their house. And so we do try to reach out to other organizations and help other people as well. But this is a pretty special family, and you might just keep them in your prayers, Philip and Debbie from Hillsborough, because she's had MS for 20 some years, and she's deteriorating, and just a great family. Um, we were able to have our first memorial gift, and this is my Aunt Pat. That's my mom's oldest sister. Um, she passed away. Was that in July or August? July, and so we received our first memorial gifts this year as an organization from her and her siblings. So we appreciate that. My friend Trent, uh, he and I kind of talked a while back about how we'd like to be able to take people hunting. Um, he went out and got this device that you see up here. It's got the crossbow setting up on there. And Trent, why don't you just come up here right quick and show them? You can use your hands. You don't have to use your chin.
Well, this is a pretty neat device. It's, as you can see, this is a picture of Kev and I, and he's sitting in his blind. I'm kind of getting things set up there, but he's able to come up on a ramp and get in the blind, and then we've got a door that shuts and some windows that come down that he can shoot out of, and I was kind of getting things ready. But the device lets us, we can put a gun or a crossbow on this, and then through motors and battery, we can guide it to wherever we want. He's got a camera that looks through the scope, and he can see everything that's still on in the scope there, and kind of allows him to guide this wherever he wants. And then whenever he is ready to shoot, it's got a bite trigger on it, so he's able to reach over and shoot it there. But pretty neat piece of technology. Kevin sent me a video of it a couple months ago, and I looked at it, and I talked to Molly a little bit, and we felt driven to get the unit and kind of give it to Kevin and the organization, and hopefully we can get more people out with these type of disabilities and let them enjoy some outdoor time. Is that what you wanted?
Yep, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Now you shot a couple deer, haven't you, with one? Really? Awesome. Awesome.
You're doing better than your dad.
Yeah, my dad's still going, yeah. I always start with quick, kind of like let my dad go, and if he gets one, it's like I get one. The day that I got one, December 7th, and I literally, he was upstairs, I was downstairs, my caretaker was here. I said, Dad, big heads or tails? Tails. So I had my caretaker order the tails. I said, you lose. I said, it's my day to hunt. So now, it's December 27th, and he's like, killed one, he's hunting tonight.
That's awesome. Well, if you're like me, the first time I got to go hunting with a device like this and actually shot something, I tell people it was the first time since my accident that I felt like I wasn't just a spectator at a sporting event, Although I had to have help getting out there, help setting it up, help getting in the right spot. and the deer had to walk pretty far, pretty good in a pretty good spot to where I could aim it, and hold still for a while, which they normally do. I was still the one that aimed it and pulled the trigger, and so that was pretty cool. And we hope to be able to take some more people in the future that have an interest in hunting. And I know Matt Bowling up here, he's said they're kind of doing something similar up in the northern part of Kansas. Do you have anything you want to share about that?
We have one of those as well, and we also have one that holds a pistol. It was donated by the Wounded Warrior Foundation to us, or to me, but we're starting Kansas Adaptive Outfitters. So hopefully we're going to bring it everywhere in Kansas. It's not just up in the Northland. So if we can bring it down here, if there's any interest in shooting pistols and stuff, we have one just like it that holds a pistol.
And do you guys help people do more than just deer hunt, turkey hunt?
We're working on that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got an outfitting business at Baldwin City Outfitters out of Baldwin City that has been around for 20 some years, and then their son-in-law got paralyzed in a car accident. So I kind of sparked the idea with him of starting AAO, and now he's started that. So we'll see where it goes. It's infancy right now. We just built a duck hunting blind that I went and picked up a pop-up camper, and we stripped it down to the frame. We built a duck hunting blind, put a winch ramp on it as well, so we can, once people get in, we can winch that back up, and we can duck hunt, and do all kinds of stuff. That's what we're trying to do right now. But again, it's in infancy, so we'll see where it goes. But if you guys got interest, please reach out and see what happens.
Well, I know a few duck hunters. Keith, do you still duck hunt?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
We were supposed to go tomorrow, but it's too muddy to get the blind. We just finished it last night, actually. Stayed
Yeah.
in all the grass and everything. So.
cool. All right. Here's a picture of the hunting blind that we use. You can see there's a ramp there on the end, and once I'm inside there, you really can't see me in there. And a good buddy of mine named Kurt Nunnenkamp actually made this blind several years ago, and so he and his wife weren't able to be here tonight, but we appreciate all they've done for us as well. So, kind of wrapping back up to this picture, and the thought of a newly injured person and their family and how spinal cord injury can affect them. This is a picture of Cody Cavender and his wife and their kid. They're kind of a blended family. As you can tell, they're Chiefs fans, but he's currently in a hospital in Omaha, Nebraska. And Cody was injured in August in a diving accident, and they actually caught the accident on video. And so you could see him diving into the pool, and he didn't even hit the bottom, but something happened when he hit the water that caused his spinal cord to be damaged. And you can just see him floating on the pool until somebody figures out, hey, he needs help, and they turn the camera off at that point. But they rescue him, and he's been in a battle for a few months now, just trying to get to the point where he can get back up and be able to be in a chair. And he's still at that point where he's hoping maybe some of the swelling will go down and he'll get some function back. But doctors have basically told him that he may never walk again either. And to understand, I guess, the devastation and the feelings that you and your family go through when something like this happens is kind of hard to understand unless you go through something like that yourself. I mean, most of us here in this room could probably say that we've been through things, health issues. I know some in here have dealt with cancer and different things, and if you haven't yourself, you know somebody who's gone to the doctor and gotten some bad news, and just I've had some devastating news, and it causes you to really just struggle in making sense out of a lot of things and ask a lot of questions about a lot of things in life. And sometimes you just don't know how you're going to survive and how you're going how are you going to function? How are you going to pay for things? Um, and so that's where this family is. And our organization was told about Cody by a cousin of mine um, in Kansas City. And so we reached out to them and asked if there was some way that we could help them. And they really didn't offer any, suggestions, but I saw that they had a GoFundMe. And so our organization decided to send them $1,000, and they called back and said, well, I'll let you listen.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm driving, so this is a little bit easier. You have no idea how much that means to me. His short-term disability ended on the 15th, and his long-term doesn't kick in until December 1st, and they pay in arrears, which means I will go a month and a half without any kind of money from him, and I had no idea how I was gonna pay my house payment and our car payments. My twins' birthday is on Tuesday, Cody's birthday is on Friday, and my son's birthday is on January 16th, and I've got nothing for Christmas for them at all. And this is just so amazing. Thank you.
But that was kind of neat that we were able to capture the emotion that she felt after she had no idea how they were going to make their house payment. And then we were able to we didn't even know about their house payment. We sent them $1,000, and she said that's exactly the amount that we needed to make our payment this month. So me being the sappy guy that I am, was called the board, was like, hey, let's send them another $1,000 for next month. So we were able to do that, and I appreciate my board members being willing um, to help us do that as well. Um, so yeah, our organization exists to help people newly injured right after they've gone through a spinal cord injury, people that have been, injured for however many years and just need help with equipment, because a lot of times insurance doesn't pay for everything that we need for the things that we need. And every once in a while, maybe we'll help pay for something that maybe we don't need, but just makes our lives a little bit better, a little bit more enjoyable, like this little hunting device over here. Not necessarily a need, but it's one of those things that you have no idea how nice it is to be able to go out and sit in the woods with one of your best friends or with your dad, or whoever, and just enjoy a little bit of life. Just get your minds off of your problems, and you just go out there and you just forget you're even paralyzed, um, unless you get hungry and then you can't get a bite to eat or a drink, and then you need somebody to give you something. So our organization wanted to recognize a few people this year, um, and a couple of them are here tonight. One of them's not. This first young man is named Coy Crane, and I can't remember the exact town he is from. We met him when we went up to speak at Clay Center with Margaret Bedeau. Coy just graduated from K-State not too long ago, and we wanted to recognize his achievements. He's only been paralyzed a few years, but he has decided to go back to college and get a degree. He wants to be a counselor. I talked to him the other day and told him congratulations from graduating from K-State. Asked him what he was wanting to do. He said, I want to go into counseling, but if I don't get a job right away, I'm going to start substitute teaching at a local school there. And so we want to congratulate him, and we want to recognize him. And we have a fancy little certificate that we're going to get him, a very small one. It's in the form of a check. It's got his name on it. We're 4 or 5 guys that are on the board. So, getting a thing like a certificate is not something that we thought about too much, or had really thought that he would care probably more about the check than the certificate anyway. So we're going to send him a check and a letter and let him know that we recognize that he did something that maybe to the most of us is not a big thing, but when you go through a spinal cord injury and you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, it's very easy to just give up and quit. And we feel like for someone like him to go out and to finish college and to want to get a job and to still want to live life to the best that he can, despite his limitations, is a very big achievement. And we want to send something to him. So we're going to send him a $500 check and let him know that we're in his corner, we're behind him, and we wish him well for his next step. So we'll be contacting him and letting him know about that. We also have a couple more that we're going to recognize tonight, and one of them is right up here in the front of the room, Mr. Bollig. Would you come up here if you would, please? So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this is was a two-time Super Bowl champion. You want to tell them a little bit about that?
The NFL and the Bob Woodruff Foundation started a football league for wheelchair football 4 years ago with a couple teams. There was only 4 teams, and it happened to be like right when COVID started, so it was kind of the wash season. We didn't really play any games. After that, they've added a couple teams each year. We're up to 14 teams now, and we've had 4 seasons. So we've made it to the Super Bowl all 4 seasons in Kansas City. We've played the LA Rams twice. We played the Dallas Cowboys the 3rd season, and this year we played the Chicago Bears. This 2nd season we beat the LA Rams, and then this last season we just beat the Chicago Bears for the Super Bowl at home. So it's been a successful ride here. It's been a lot of fun coming back to football. If you guys, that was my favorite sport here in Chanute. I didn't play much basketball or anything like that, but football, it's the love to me. So being able to play this with my peers and my friends, it's been a lot of fun. And we've had some success, but hopefully we can get more of you guys to come out and see us. If we're the number 1 seed again next year, it'll be in Kansas City as well. So I told them we would have 2,000 people because we've got quite a group and then a lot of followers, with different families. But they cut it off at 600, so there's people waiting at the door. So hopefully next year we can get it to 2,000 people, so everybody can come watch. It's a lot of fun. It's a really high intensity sport. And we won in the last 15 seconds, so it's kind of like the Chiefs. We were down, I think it was 7 points with 15 seconds left. We got the ball. We threw one pass. We get to like the 30-yard line. I threw another pass, and the refs were on our side. Right, we paid them enough, so we got a PI. We got to the 1-yard line. Yeah, just gotta have fun, right? So then we ended up scoring and took it to overtime and won it overtime. So it's a really exciting sport. If you want to look at it on YouTube, there's a couple games on YouTube. It's not covered like the NFL is, but there's a couple clips out there if you wanted to watch.
Cool. Well, we got a mug for you and a fancy, one of those fancy certificates inside of there for you too. And Matt's probably one of his biggest achievements is coming up here soon.
Oh,
He's getting ready to be a father, so excited about that in March. All right. All right. Thank you, Matt. All right. So our next one, got one more we want to give out tonight. And so, in high school, our rival was always the Fort Scott Tigers. So it kind of hurts me to do this, but we got a young man back here tonight who, in the course of this last year, it was during last year's basketball season, he got his 100th career victory as the head coach of the Fort Scott Tigers. And man, I just admire you. And, sometimes you see guys out there doing things and that they're making a difference. And when I watch you coach, think about all those young people that look at you and see the things that you go through every day, see your problems. I know it's got to inspire a lot of them, to keep going. through their problems and to make the most of their lives. So that's the thing that I've found about, when people look at me, I've had them tell me that a lot of times I don't have to say a word. They just look, and it encourages them because they're like, if you can get out of bed every day and put on a smile and get out and do something, then so can I. And so, I just admire you, Pashan, for what you do, for getting up and going to school every day, being around those high school kids. I'm sure that's a challenge for you sometimes, maybe even more so than being in the wheelchair, right? Yeah. So we have a mug and a certificate for you. And I don't know if you want to come on up here or not. If we can make room there, we want to get up here and get your picture at least.
Caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's a little coffee bug then. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Guess we got to smile at this guy.
Yeah. There you go.
All right, let's
If I'd
give
have known
him.
this, I'd have worn my red before
I know you would. Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't expecting this at all. As they said, I coach girls basketball, so pray for me in high school. Girls basketball every day is a new adventure. This is my 11th year, going into this, but having a spinal cord injury is definitely something you never expect. But over the course of this, I got a chance to meet a lot of great people. I feel like the Lord has put me on a good path there, but I wouldn't be able to get through this without friends like you all, my faith, family, just the village that I have. It was a benefit coming back to Fort Scott because you know a lot of people down there to help you out. Because at the time when I got hurt, I was living in New York City, coaching women's basketball at St. John's University. And, I thought these were my plans, but God obviously had something different in mind. And so even though it wasn't quite my plans, but I got a chance to impact a lot of great people along the way. And I am a Craig alumni, Craig Hospital alumni there in Colorado. And come to find out that we had the same therapist, Natasha, back in the day. So she's done some good work for us, and I still keep in contact with her as well. So thank you for everything that you do, and keep plugging along.
Thank you. All right. At this time, Chad, why don't you come up here real quick? I asked Chad if he'd share just a little bit this evening. Chad and I kind of, back in '91, we were at Craig Hospital together, but we didn't know each other, didn't really get to meet each other at that time. But my dad met him, and I remember my dad coming back into my room saying, I met this guy that fell off it was a 75-foot, was it a dam that you were working on?
Yep.
Construction site? And he was there, and so didn't really think too much about it. Never got to see him, never got to meet him. Then about 4 years ago, maybe my wife has a love for buying flowers at the Amish auction, and so we were out there, and this guy walked up to me and saw me in the wheelchair and came over and wanted to strike up a conversation. So we got to talking, asking questions. He's like, I was in Craig Hospital in 1991. He's like, well, so was I. Like, really? How'd you get hurt? And so we put two and two together and figured out, hey, that's the guy my dad was talking about. And it's funny how God puts people in your path at different times. I don't think there's any accidents. I think, that he crosses our paths for reasons. And I asked Chad if he would just share a little bit about himself and maybe about, the obstacles he's had to overcome. Because I tell you, this guy, despite the obstacles he has, he's worked hard. He's married, he's got a family, and he's done a lot of good things, and yet it hadn't been easy. So I'm going to let him talk for just a minute.
Well, that thing about he said that he is an inspiration by just sitting there. Well, he was. It was a greenhouse full of people. And I spotted him instantly, and it was like, I got to go talk to him. I didn't know why. I mean, people kept interrupting it, and I couldn't get to him. And we had to go time. I finally did get a hold of him and all that, what he just said. But God drew us together. And I mean, it wasn't even for that until Kevin asked tonight. And I kept asking him, well, what was I supposed to say? And then he introduced me to you guys here in the room. There's 5 of you that live in the same town. I wondered why God brought me to Chinook, Kansas. Chinook, Kansas. Well, I walk on these. I chose to cut my leg off in '09. I live in a chair. I have one of these at home because my hands swell up. I fell 70 feet. I broke everything. It didn't become a head injury, but Craig put me on that floor, or God did, so that I could see what I had, what I was benefited enough to be given. And it did have to change your life. I got down to 132 pounds. I wouldn't eat. My CNA tied me in bed. And she goes, I know what you're doing. So every day I'd just get out and run. And it took 3 bites of eating food at Craig. And the next day I was starving, wanting food. But the journey's been 9 back surgeries. I chose to cut off my leg so I could continue to use these crutches that they told me I'd never walk again. I hear you're having a baby. Well, that was the first thing they told me. I wouldn't have kids. I've got 6 kids. That wasn't on all mine. And they're all here, mine, ours, they're all mine. But I didn't. It's just been a long walk. And there are days that we don't want to get out and get up. But we still have to keep going. Awesome 150 buck. Got a side story. I was going to get one of my major back surgeries there, open up the spinal canal and clean out the scar tissue so I could continue to have what I have. And I said, I'm not going to miss my last day of elk hunting. I had to be at the Denver hospital at 10 o'clock. Time sunrise, 8 o'clock. Well, there's a 2-hour drive. I wasn't going to miss it. I shot a 6x6 bull that morning with my bow and arrow. And my good friend said, hey, wherever it goes, I'll track it down. I'll take care of it for you. You just go shoot, don't matter. The bullet went, or the arrow went in, hit a rib, went right out its heart, up through its neck, hit the ground. I got to take a picture with it and get my surgery on the same day. So God is good. But meeting Kevin in this, there's a reason. He blessed me with a ramp that, did I need it? Like, yeah, I got a wooden one that works, but it's not a safe one. And I needed it, and they blessed me with it. And now I'm going to be able to have people come over to my house and use my living room that weren't able to get into my home because my ramp's too steep. So I do think that, but I also know that it lit a match in me. Kevin, I got a friend that every time I go to Craig, I'm a Craig rehab, but I go back for my reevals. I was workman's comp injury, didn't get a big, huge settlement, but they do bless me with my payments for all my surgeries and going to rehab or back to reevals. But every year I try to meet somebody new to try to bring along that road of what are we going to do next? What's life like after this? And they're kind of stopping that where we outpatients, inpatients, and you're divided. But I nag every time I'm there about how do we get to show them or do what the old guys did for me and give you an inspiration one to continue to live while you're in your chair. So I don't know, a little bit. Done everything. I love it all. I've played all the sports except for football. We got kicked out of Craig for playing football. We played even with the electric chairs. We'd hit them with the Nerf football. It was still a catch, but they wanted to kick us out of Craig for playing football. So. But I thank you for this, and I'd love to continue to help put all those faces of those newly injured. It does affect your family. And I have to say something to the family that's here right now. I don't know what God did to your family to keep you tied so well, because most of us fall apart. And it's amazing to watch Kevin's family all the brothers and the sister that drives here 2 to 3 times a year to be a part of it. So live with it. His family's living with it. And I want to see all of you. It's an amazing family.
Thank you, Chad. So we're going to kind of wrap things up tonight, I guess. And thank you, Chad. I appreciate what you had to say. I have been blessed in a lot of ways. I tell people, is this how I wanted to live my life? No. But I heard a quote after I got paralyzed: says, "Do what you can with what you have, right where you are, and try not to worry about the rest." And that stuck with me because a lot of times I look at my body and think, man, I don't have anything. Can't do anything. Can't do most of the stuff I want to do. Can't go out the farm. I mean, I can go out there and just look at the grass, which I do kind of enjoy looking at grass, which my wife thinks is crazy. But look at the cows, hang out, do whatever. But it's a different life than what I ever dreamed and what I wanted. But I will say that through it all, um, there's been some big life lessons that I've learned that I wouldn't trade. Um, and I do believe that despite the obstacles and challenges that you may face each and every day, no matter who you are, whether you're in a chair or whether you're able-bodied walking around, I challenge you to look at your life in a way that you're able to see that although you may have limitations and imperfections, life is worth living, and there are things that you can do with what you have right where you are. And I don't think God expects us to do any more than just what we can do. Every day I wake up, I could sit around and think about all the things I wish I could do and focus on all the things that I can't do. But I found that if I focus on what I can do and just do those, then then I've done what I was supposed to do on that day. And so we just want to encourage everyone through our organization, whether you're paralyzed and had a spinal cord injury or not, to learn to live with it. Has anybody not heard the bird poop story? Has everybody heard that story? Some of you have not. So you have not. So this little guy over here, why don't you come on up here, James? And Gary, you probably need to get a picture of this. So I got paralyzed in 91. He was born in 1990. And he actually learned to walk at Craig Hospital in the therapy room. And so I watched him learn to walk. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, that's just a miracle, this little guy. Learning to walk while I'm sitting here and I can't walk. And when I came home from the hospital, he would point at my seatbelt on my chair and he would say, out, 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 because he thought all I needed was just somebody to unloose that seatbelt, and then I'd be able to get up and walk. And I could even remember him walking around my mom's basement. I'd be sitting there in the chair. He'd be playing around. And one day, he specifically walked up to me and he said, watch this. He said, do this. And he showed me how to walk. And, so he tried, Can't blame him for effort, right? I was watching him play in the sandbox one day, and a bird flew by and dropped a big old pile of bird crap right on my right shoulder. And I didn't want it on there, obviously. And so I hollered out at him. I said, James, I said, hey, will you come here? And so he got up and waddled over there to where I was at. At the time, he was barely big enough to reach my shoulder, but I knew he could reach it. And I said, hey, James, do you see that stuff there on my shoulder? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, will you wipe it off in there for me? And he said, okay. And he reached his little hand up there, and right before he touched it, he was like, wait a minute, what is that? And I didn't want to lie to the kid, as my 3-year-old brother, but I also wanted it off of there. So I didn't know what to do. I just said, well, it's bird poop. I was watching you play in the sandbox, bird flew by. Pretty sure that's got to be what it is. So he jerks his hand back, wrinkles up his nose, and he says, ew. He said, I'm not touching that. And I said, okay, well, go in the house and get mom. Because, moms will fix that kind of stuff for you when nobody else will. And so he's like, okay, I'll go get mom. And he went in and got mom, and mom came out, and she, cleaned up my shoulder and did all that. But before he went in there to get her, he looked at me square in the eye, and he said, I'm going to go get mom, but if she doesn't want to wipe it off of there, then you're just going to have to learn to live with it. And so you can sit down if you want to. So I tell that story because of a couple reasons. One is, here's a 3-year-old that's already learned one of the most important lessons in life. When you can't change something, you have a choice. How are you going to respond? Do you accept it, learn to live with it, or not? And, at his age, at 3, it was probably something simple like he had to take a bath when he didn't want to, eat his carrots when he didn't want to, or whatever. But you guys know what I'm talking about, don't you? Little kids at a very young age, they learn that there are some times in life when you have to learn to live with things if you can't change them. But he had no idea what I was really going through on the inside, the struggle that I was going through, accepting the doctor's prognosis that I would never walk again. And it was almost as if, as I was going through that struggle, God used a little 3-year-old to say, hey, you're going to have to learn to live with this. And so it became like a challenge to me to learn to accept the fact that my life was going to be different, that I may never walk again. I believe with all my heart one day I will walk again, because that's why Jesus went to the cross, to give us hope of eternal life and hope of getting new bodies someday. Until then, I don't know how long I'm going to have to learn to live with the spinal cord injury. But that little challenge to learn to live with it was also kind of a double challenge to me, in the fact that if I was going to have to be paralyzed, that I was going to learn to really live life, to the best of my ability, to do what I could with what I had, despite the fact that I was paralyzed. So that learning to live with it is that's kind of where it all came from. That's why we chose to name our organization the Live With It Foundation, is because our challenge to people, spinal cord injured people, anybody, people walking around completely healthy with physical bodies, that don't have any problems. There are things in your life every day that you have to learn to live with. And so our challenge is to learn to live with those, to make the most out of your life, to do what you can with what you have right where you are. And so I guess I'm just going to kind of wrap things up on that note and that message and that challenge, because I feel like it kind of sums up who we are and what we want to try to do. And I just want to say thank you to each of you who have supported us throughout this first year. I don't know where all we're going to go next year. I'm sure we're going to be able to help more people, who are newly injured. We want to be able to help people who have been injured, for some time and just need some financial help or some encouragement, some support. We're just willing to go wherever we're led during this upcoming year. And we want you guys to let us know if you know of anybody, hear of anybody that goes through a spinal cord injury. We want to reach out to them, to their families, to their caregivers, and be a help to them and encouragement. Help give them a little bit of hope and a little bit of support. So thank you again. We're going to be around here for a little while. If there's some people in here that you haven't got a chance to talk to, encourage you to reach out and get a chance to talk to them for a little bit tonight before we go. So with that, guess we'll wrap it up. But is there anybody that has anything that they want to say? Any comments or? All right. Well, thank you guys again for all coming.